Yo people, this is my first proper tutorial with my voice in it. It's going to be like a long one, like 10 minutes plus. I'm just going to be breaking down how I made the Undertaker theme song drill beat. Obviously this is my first one, so bear with me. I'm not really used to talking on camera, on mic properly, and also the audio, I'll be getting a mic soon, so that'll start to get better. But let me just get into this. The first thing I did, obviously, just come get the Undertaker theme tune, which will sound like this, if you don't know it. And if you don't know how to take it from YouTube to an MP3 or a WAV file, just come to share once it loads, and then copy the link, and then come to YouTube to WAV, YouTube converter, and paste it into here, Control V, and then search that, and it'll come up, and then you just download it. But obviously I've already got mine downloaded because I already made the beat. So you just come and drag it into your FL Studio. I've got it up here. And the first thing I did, well, it was usually originally a longer sample. So it was like this at the beginning with just a bell. The first like 4 bars is just a bell, but I didn't really want that in the beginning. So what I did was chopped it down to just the intro, which was right there when that beat dropped there. So I'm just going to shorten it down to here. There on that little beat drop. And shorten that down. Drag that to beginning. Actually no. It was there. I had that at the beginning. That was just my intro. Didn't do anything to it. Just left it how it was. The BPM the same. Obviously it wouldn't be on BPM, but there's no drums on the beginning, so it didn't really matter that much. Then I'll get the sample. Click this. Well, actually, I'll copy and paste it first. Hold shift, and then click the sample and drag it to make a new one. And then to make it unique, click this little WAV file up here, and then click make unique, and I'll make it a separate sample. And I've done that, so I'll just grab that one as well. This is and it says #2, so it's number 2. And I'll get the sample that I wanted for the actual beat, not the intro, which was, I think, here. Yeah, so it's like a little choir and a bell. So that would be my my main melody throughout the song. And obviously this is not going to be on beat. So what you want to do is you find out the BPM of the song, click this, fit to tempo, and then if you don't know the tempo of the original song, you just search up like Undertaker like theme song tempo, and then type in BPM, and you type in the original BPM, not the one that you want it to be. But obviously I've done that as well. Now that's gonna load. Alright, so now that that's loaded, it's on BPM, it's on beat, and so I've just got 2 different variations of the bell and the choir that sound like this. And I want that to be my main melody, so I'm just gonna copy and paste that across like this, and then I got way more to work with. And now it's time for the drums. So now the main melody's done, I'm gonna grab my hi-hat. I'm just gonna start, and I'm gonna work within the same 8-bar loop, just so it's easier, and I'll arrange it after. And first of all, obviously I did my hi-hats. I always start with my hi-hats. You don't have to, but I don't know, it's just how I work. So I started out. Got this from a ghosty pack, and anyone who is a complete beginner, you just have to click and it'll paste in wherever you want. So this is the pattern I got. This is the velocity, so it's like how hard the hit, how hard the sound hits. So if this is all the way down, then you can barely hear it, but put that back to how it was. And also undo is Control and Z, so whatever I do here doesn't matter at all. I can literally completely ruin everything. Control Z, put it all back to normal. So now that's the hi-hat done, that'll basically just play out kind of throughout the whole track. Sometimes it'll come up. And next is usually the snare. I've got this brigade snare from the Saint 6 pack, and it's just usually just hits on the 3, the 7, the 3, the 8, and kind of just play around with it. which is a very simple snare, and of course got some gunshots. You don't have to have these, but I mean they just add fills and stuff like that. It's just like extra effects and stuff like that. I'm just gonna make this smaller, it's easier to see them. There we go, that's better. So hi-hat, snare, and obviously what you need is the kick. As you can see, earthquake kick, I got 1, 2, and 3 because just different variations. With the kick, let me just put that on properly. This is a pretty hard hitting kick. Usually I'll have the velocity all the way up just to make it punch that a little bit more, but this is already pretty hard and it'll just make it like really distorted if I put the velocity all the way up. So I just left it how it was, just like this. Okay, and then we got the 808, which is arguably the best part of a draw beat. The first thing you want to do before you even think about laying out the pattern of the 808, you come to this little tab here, and obviously if you've already dragged your 808, you know about what all these buttons do. You click your 808 tab, you come to this little ADSR button here, and you make sure everything is down, all of these are down, and make sure the hold is all the way up. Just that way, your 808 will stop basically when you want it to stop, if that makes sense. So it'll stop right here instead of like leaking over into the next one. And now for the pattern, it's pretty simple just because it's like near the beginning of the song. You don't want to start out with like 100 slides. It's a bit annoying, so just a simple 808 pattern to begin with. And obviously I got a few more variations of the 808. I'll actually show you them now because they get a little bit more complex. I shall wait until later to show that. And then we got some snaps as well, like little clicks and stuff like that. And then the Grime 808 is one of my favorite things to use in a draw beat. I'm actually gonna get this loop off because it's kind of annoying. It keeps stopping it halfway. This comes in here. And how I made this was, if I remember correctly, I just copied my 808 over, put it into a separate one. Instead of putting everything down on this, I made the release a little bit longer because I didn't want it to just cut off straight away. And also came to this tab, and I had already weird sounding 808, but originally it would have looked something like, what's that, 29%, just so I don't forget. So that's at 0. The length, yeah, that's all sorted. The stereo delay was at 13, so I'll put that back to 0. The boost is at 15. And it would have sounded something like this. So what, this was at 15 if I remember correctly. This is at 13. Now it sounds like this. Just a little bit like wider and just more like, I don't know, just, well, yeah, stereo. It's stereo delay. That's what it is. It puts it in different sections of the earphones. And then what, the in was at 29. And that just gives it like a little kind of fade in at the beginning, as you can see. Rather than just hit straight away, it kind of like fades in like that. Like that, so it sounds a bit different. And then just come into your, I'm just going to copy in this over just so you can, there you go. And then just lay out a different pattern and it'll sound like this. Just gives it a little bit of variation for the 808. It's just like a fun little play around. I got some more as well. They come in later in the song though. These ones sound like this. I'm gonna mute this one. This will sound like this. Actually, that won't fit well because it's for a different part of the song, but that'll come in later and it'll make sense. And then I just got variations for everything. Obviously I've got a different, you don't want it to just sound the same the whole way through, so I've got a different snare here. Let me mute this one, so it sounds like this. Just playing with the velocity as well, obviously that just makes it hit less, so it kind of gives like a delay effect. I'm pretty sure, actually let me get rid of this. I've got a lot of different kicks actually in this one. Let me mute this kick as well, put this snare back on. And yeah, you'll hear the rest of it when I lay it out properly, because some different like patterns are not meant for this part of the song, so it doesn't sound as good. But I'm pretty sure I just got little bits of perks and stuff like that. I'll show you this one. Don't know if you can hear that properly with everything else going on, but it's just like a little shaker effect, like that. It's just little filler things like this that I've added in. Also, oh yeah, I've got another hi-hat, counter snare, whatever you want to call it, just to fill in with the other snare. I'll play that on its own as well. Sounds a bit shit on itself, but with the other one it fills it in pretty nicely. Like that. And another snap as well, just little variations, everything. It doesn't have to be too complicated, you know. So like that. So now I'm just gonna arrange it. Let me delete all this because I'll arrange it properly, and I'll come back when it's arranged. Now this is fully arranged. I'm gonna go for it properly now. Let me just play it. I've added a couple things like risers, like a reverse, like a bell thing, my tag obviously. Let me put my tag at the beginning too. And some automation. I'm just gonna go through what I did exactly. So let me start with the easy things. Got a normal riser, just to play at the beginning. Nothing special, nothing special. And then I've got a reverse triangle. So obviously if you don't know how to reverse things, you just come to the little page, you double click on whatever sound you want to reverse, and just click reverse like this. So it sounds like this normally, and just reverse it like that. It just gives a little more of a dramatic effect, if that makes sense. So this playing at the beginning, and I'll show you the quick little transition now. Like that. And if you're wondering what automation is, basically it just changes things like throughout the track on its own. So what I've done with this is just the volume of this loop. It got quite loud towards the end, so like throughout it, while the volume of the sample is actually getting louder, I've kind of just turned it down gradually, just so it doesn't, it was just contrasting with everything. And I've copy and pasted it throughout. Okay, so next up is the kick. You'll notice with all my mixing and stuff, it's not overdone, it's not overcomplicated. I see people with like 20 different effects, but you know, it just makes it sound shit really. So I don't usually do that many effects. It's usually just an EQ, maybe a reverb, a delay, and then just the main thing is the leveling. If you've got good leveling and you've got a good ear for leveling, then you won't need to do that much mixing really. But just for the kick, obviously I've got my EQ here. Well, if you actually want to know how to get the different effects up, you just click on the slot and then come to select, and this drop down will come up, and then all your effects will be here. But anyway, I've got my EQ here. It's kind of just raised the mids a little bit and a tiny bit of the low end, and I've cut like the top end of it off. I've also sidechained the kick to the 808, so let me just undo that so I can show you how I did it. You'll just click on your kick and then come to 808. Don't click on it, but right click on this little arrow at the bottom and click sidechain to this track, and then you'll see the little link, and that's how you know sidechained. Then you want to come to your 808 and get a fruity limiter app. It should just be in here somewhere, like fruity limiter here. Get one of those up, click on it, and the normal like the screen will look like this. It'll be on the limiter, but you want to come to the compressor, the one that says comp, click it, and then sidechain, put it to 1, or you can right click it and it will show you the name of it. Click that, and then you want to just be playing with these 3 buttons here. This is usually how it will roughly look. These 2 will be all the way up. This one will be about halfway or a little bit below halfway. I'll show you. If you don't know what sidechaining does, basically, whenever the kick plays, it'll duck out the 808. So like, for example, like this. If I do it to the extreme, you'll see what I mean. Come to the limit. If I put this all the way down, you'll see what I mean. You know what I mean? So the kick. Anyway, the kick will come through, and the 808 won't, depending on how much compression you have, or like side chaining. So I usually put it to about here. I think it was here. So it just cuts off, so the kick comes through more, and that's just how to side chain. Alright, and to mix my Grime 808, obviously I just got my normal 808, copied it, put it into a separate mixer channel, made it a little bit quieter than my normal 808, and I'll just come to actually take out the lows of this one, because you don't want it to be like bassy really with a Grime 808. So I just cut out some of the lows, and I added a reverb onto it, pulled the wet up a little bit, left it dry where it is, sized it halfway so it's just kind of like normal in your earphones, and put a little high cut filter on it, and it turned out to sound like this. And actually in the piano roll, this is obviously your velocity, it says velocity here, and then if you come and click the control, you can change it, and the panning, and I've panned it a little bit left and right, so say this was in the middle, it'll just be central in your earphones, but I actually put it like this, so it's kind of like it moves around in your earphones. And yeah, that's the Grime 808. And then for the rest of the mixing, we just got our snaps, snares, and our little counters and perks and stuff. So for the snare, again, just a normal EQ, cutting out the lows, raising the highs a little bit. Then I got the gunshot, another EQ, cut out the lows. Didn't raise the highs on this, I didn't really need it. Then my effects, I don't even have any mixing on this, I've just leveled it because it literally just doesn't need it. Counter snare doesn't need it again, and my snap did actually need it because it had a little bit of like low end that I didn't like, but like the mids were coming through a little bit, and it was like contrasting with my snare, so I cut those out because the snare bit probably hit about here and here, so I cut these out so it's just the high end. And then my riser, again, don't need one of those because these are all background sounds, so they don't exactly need crazy mixing because it's not really like you can hear them that much anyway. It's just like little fillers and stuff like that. And then I've got, well, this is my main melody throughout the same thing, and this is the intro. They've got two different EQs on it because they're obviously two different samples. This one will look like this, cut out the lows a lot, and the mids, and it's kind of just ducked out. And this one will be kind of the same, but it's got more high end just to give it a little bit more clarity. And then this is the sample at the start of the song. So I didn't need to mix it because obviously there's no drums at the start. I wanted to play it raw, so it just actually sounded like the proper intro to the WWE, the Undertaker's intro. So I just left that how it was. I just leveled it again, so it's like it's not like really loud, and then the beat comes in and it's quiet. So yeah, that's literally how I mixed it. I'll just play the whole song now. Obviously I got my tag as well. Actually, I just took that straight from a Batman game.
The rhythm.